What's up guys, welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. Today we are building Terra, and I'll say it right out of the gate, I think this is the most powerful food chain commander we've gotten that's 5 color. Additionally, I think it's one of, if not the most powerful breach commander we've gotten in 5 color as well, which are some pretty bold claims, and I'm going to try to back them up and explain why I think that in today's video. Additionally guys, pick up that free $15 you get in the whatnot link in the description down below. Additionally, you guys can get 10% off all of your Tellurian library proxies whenever you use code DT4D, and last but not least, you guys can get 10% off this awesome dragon deck box until the end of the month. Now, let's get right into it. Let's talk about what Terra does. She's 3 CMC, 1 red, 1 green, and 1 generic, and then whenever she enters the battlefield, we get to mill 5 cards and put up to 1 enchantment card milled this way into our hand. Additionally, for 6 CMC, 4 generic, and 1 green and 1 red, we get to flip her and she has a saga side. Now, this does some pretty broken stuff, and there's some infinite shenanigans to be had here with clone spells that clone legendary spells and become non-legendary, but we will not be focusing on Terra's saga side today. We just care about the ETB. Now let's start backing up those statements that I think Terra is the most powerful food chain and breach commander that we've ever gotten in 5 color for cEDH, which would be crazy if true because 5 color is already super powerful, and the fact that this boosts some of the most powerful strategies is kind of insane. First off, what does she do for these strategies? She enters the battlefield and then mills 5 cards, which are always kind of worried about milling your win conditions in these kind of strategies, so you're kind of worrisome of how you want to fill your graveyard, but not in this strategy because Terra allows you to put your win cons, if you mill them, directly back into your hand, which is super powerful here. The fact that she puts 4 additional cards into our graveyard if we mill breach is insane. It kind of allows you to go off right off rip, find your breach, find your LED, because now you can cast your tutor from the graveyard and boom, LED discards your entire hand and you're ready to go off and do the breach thing. Another thing that we need to talk about for the food chain strategy is that she's only 3 CMC and 2 different colors, which makes a difference, right? This means if we have an entire board of mana dorks, we can actually cast her a couple times without Squee to either help find Squee, because remember, she's milling 5 cards every time we do that, or if we don't find Squee, she's going to help us find value. There's some very powerful enchantments here, such as Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, right? Casting her doesn't do nothing here, which is also pretty solid. Another thing I want to mention here is her interaction with Intuition and Gifts Ungiven here. She has 2 different piles. She can either grab Squee, Food Chain, and Savine's Reclamation, or she can go ahead and grab her breach combos with Breach, Brain Freeze, and LED, depending on which one you get, right? So she's also flexible in which intuition lines you have, and now that we have 2 effective intuitions, she's kind of just worth playing for that reason alone. Make sure you guys stay to the end of the video because I will be going through a Goldfish session where we're going to be talking about the hands you would keep, the hands you would toss, and I'm going to play one out just so you guys can see the speed of this deck. Let's kick it off by going over the food chain line. Now there will be timestamps to each line because a lot of players already know how this works, so this way you can just go to the next portion of the video if you already know this combo. Food Chain, this is a 3 CMC enchantment that's 2 generic and a green that says exile a creature you control, add X mana of any color where X is +1 the exiled creature's mana value. Then you have Squee. Squee is a 3 CMC goblin that says you may cast Squee from your graveyard or from exile. So the way this works is you sacrifice Squee again and again and again, generating infinite red mana, because every time you sacrifice him you get 4 red and he only cost 3 red. Once we have infinite red mana, we can then sacrifice him for infinite green mana or infinite Wooburg, right? It doesn't matter from that point. Then we're going to cast Terra till we mill our entire graveyard. At some point, this is going to put Gloomshrieker into our hand. Once Gloomshrieker is in our hand, we cast it and it says, when Gloomshrieker enters the battlefield, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. At this point, we can grab Thassa's Oracle, a card that says when it enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is your devotion to blue. Put up to 1 of them on top of your library and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game. So again, we have 0 cards in our library at this point and we win the game. Another way we can do this is using Dread Return. Let's say we have 3 creatures on the battlefield, we can just flashback Dread Return, reanimating Thassa's Oracle, and we'll win the game all the same. What's so important about this win line is at no point do we need to use mana that's not for creatures, right? That way, Food Chain just wins us the game outright, even if we're tapped out from that point. Thank you, Busy, for helping me find this. Now, if you do have 2 open mana, you can at any point find your breach and then transition into your breach line, which is a little more consistent and has a little more protection to it. Our breach combo involves Underworld Breach, Lion Eye Diamond, and Brain Freeze. The way this works is Underworld Breach is a 2 CMC enchantment, 1 generic and 1 red, that says each non-land card in your graveyard has escaped. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice Underworld Breach. We then have Brain Freeze, that's 2 CMC, 1 generic, and 1 blue. It's an instant that says target player mills 3 cards, and then it has Storm. Last but not least, we have Lion's Eye Diamond. For 0 cost, you get an artifact that says discard your entire hand. You can add 3 mana of any color to your mana pool. So the way this works is simple. All we have to do is get enough cards in our graveyard, which again, our commander is going to help with that, to cast Brain Freeze, putting more cards into our graveyard, allowing us to cast Lion's Eye Diamond to add more mana to our mana pool, which again allows us to cast Brain Freeze again. And then once we have 0 library, we can cast Thassa's Oracle from the graveyard and again win the game. We're also on a Displacer Kitten combo because it's just so free here. Displacer Kitten's a 4 CMC creature that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you control, then return it to the battlefield under your control. This means when we're casting non-land permanents and we don't have a way to combo off, this is just able to blink Terra over and over again. And then it combos with another amazing card, Teferi Time Revealer. This is a 3 CMC Planeswalker that's 1 generic, 1 white, and 1 blue that says each opponent can cast spells only anytime they can cast a sorcery. So boom, they can't interact with you. Additionally, its +1 says until your next turn, you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. And then last one is -3 that says return up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand, and then you get to draw a card. The way this works with Displacer Kitten is you need something like a mana positive rock, such as Soul Ring. You cast Soul Ring, you blink Teferi, you return Soul Ring back to your hand. Then you can cast Soul Ring again, blink Teferi, return it to your hand. This allows you to draw your entire library, and then you can eventually win with Thassa's Oracle. Let's talk about how we're easily going to set this up. Lim-Dûl's Vault is perfect here. For 1 black and 1 blue, you get an instant that says, look at the top 5 cards of your library as many times as you choose. You may pay 1 life and put those cards on the bottom of your library in any order. Then look at the top 5 cards of your library again. Then shuffle and put the last cards you looked at on top in any order. This allows you, again, rifle through your deck, find the best cards, put them on top. Notably, you're looking for some combo of Foodchain and Squeeve, Foodchain and Tutor, Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, Tutor. You're just looking for any of your 3 card combos. Try to get 2 of them together. That way, you're able to cast your commander, put the cards you want into your graveyard, cast Underworld Breach, and win the game from there. A much simpler way is using Gifts Ungiven or Intuition along with Sevinne's Reclamation. Gifts Ungiven and Intuition essentially do the same thing. What's going to happen here is you're either going to search for 3 or 4 cards, depending on which one you cast, and then you're going to let your opponent decide which 1 or 2 cards you get to put into your hand and which other ones you get to put into your graveyard, again, depending on which one you cast. Gifts Ungiven allows you to put 2 cards into your hand and 2 into the graveyard, and then Intuition allows you to put 1 into your hand and 2 into the graveyard. The point here, though, is either way you cast these, you win the game, because we're also grabbing Sevinne's Reclamation along with any of our combo pieces. Sevinne's Reclamation says, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this spell was cast from your graveyard, you may copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. The thing that makes this broken is it has flashback. So even if our opponents force us to put this into the graveyard, we're able to flashback our other combo pieces and instantly put them onto the battlefield. We're also on Demonic Consultation. This, for 1 black, gets rid of your entire library, and then you can just cast Thassa's Oracle and win the game, so that's pretty cool. Notably, the way to do this is to cast Thassa's Oracle, wait for the ETB to be on the stack, and then cast Demonic Consultation. That way they have no choice. They either have to counter Demonic Consultation or they lose the game. Just to go over some notable enchantments that we can bin and just cast: Mystic Remora, Rhystic Study, Seal of Primordium, Smothering Tithe, Sylvan Library, and Touch the Spirit Realm. Notably, Mystic Remora, Rhystic Study, Smothering Tithe, even Sylvan Library are insane value engines that either draw us a ton of cards or generate insane amount of mana. Other unique cards to this strategy are Snapcaster Mage. I really like this guy here because he can just snap back any of those instant sorcery spells you've milled off of your commander. The odds that you cast your commander and mill an Intuition or something are not 0. Additionally, she mills a ton of tutors. Just because this is cEDH, you're going to have a ton of tutors in your graveyard. And the rest of the deck is pretty standard for a cEDH build. I was messing around with a World Gorger version of this deck where we have Abdul, World Gorger, and we use our animate dead effects to go ahead and reanimate them. That gives us infinite mana and infinite blinks on our commander, milling our graveyard. But the problem with that strategy was Breach and Intuition, along with Foodchain, are just way faster than that strategy. So it ended up being the worst of 3 combos that I'm running in a deck, and at the end of the day, it just kind of diluted it a bit. So I cut it out. Here we have Otawara, Arcane Signet, Windswept Heath, Force of Will, Eldritch Evolution, Mox Diamond, and Savine's Reclamation. I think we're going to ship this one. It's got some mana. We're doing stuff, but we don't have any tutors or anything like that. So let's go to our next hand. This one's looking a little bit better. We have Gemstone. We have Esper Sentinel. We've got our Snapcaster Mage, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and keep this. We're going to do this. Discard land. Then we're going to sacrifice Misty for a, guess it doesn't really matter. A green-black source is fine. And then we can very easily go ahead and, oh, I didn't draw a card per turn. Okay, and then we can cast our Esper Sentinel. Let's say we drew 1 card off of it, which is Breach. That's insane. And then we're going to go to our next turn. This is where she becomes insane, because turn 2, we're just going to straight up cast her, and that's going to fuel our Breach Fire. Ooh, Tropical Island. So we'll go here. We'll cast Terra. And then that's going to put 5 cards into the graveyard. Now it's a May ability, so we're going to let Imperial Seal go down there too. So now we have 7 cards in the graveyard with Breach in hand on turn 2. That's why she's insane, guys, right? Let's say we draw 1 card off of Esper Sentinel and then go to our next turn. We draw into a Fierce Guardianship. So now we've got a protected Breach. Let's see what we have in hand. So protected Breach in hand. The only meaningful way to find anything, though, is Demonic Consultation. Oh, wait, do we have Brain Freeze in there? We have Brain Freeze in there. Okay, so we have Brain Freeze. We have Breach. We're missing our mana. What are the odds that we can try to find our mana with Brain Freeze right now? Let's go ahead and cast Underworld Breach, and then we can just cast Brain Freeze. Yeah, that's not gonna work. We're gonna cast Demonic. We're gonna go for it. We're gonna name Lion Eye Diamond. Nice. Okay, now let's see if we win or lose. That's our Thassa's Oracle. Not the end of the world. There's Lion Eye Diamond. Oh my gosh, we were 1 off from not being able to win. Okay, so there's Lion Eye Diamond, right? So now we have this, which is cool. We can cast it, discard our entire hand. And now what we're going to do is mill our library, build up our storm count, and then when the storm count gets massive enough, we are actually going to Brain Freeze the entire table's library out, and then once the entire table's library is out, we can cast Wheel of Fortune, they draw and die. So pretty cool there. That was a turn 3 protected. That's kind of crazy. Holy. All right, well, anyway, that's Terra. She's kind of crazy. Yeah, that's going to do it for the video. Let me know what you guys think about this deck in the comments down below.